Hello and welcome to my January wrap-up. Hello lovely bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to the first wrap-up of the year. So today we're going over all the books I read in January. January for me was quite an okay month. I read 6 books, so I'm not unhappy about that. And yeah, let's just go over them and first start with, well, I think a reread for me. It's one of my absolute favorites. So the first book that I read, and I buddy read this one, is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This book was just as good this time around as it was the first time. I think that these characters hold my heart. This is one of those books that I will forever love. I think Laini definitely is one of my favorite writers, and Daughter of Smoke and Bone, if you haven't picked it up, is a lot, in my mind at least, a lot quicker than the Stranger Dreamer duology. I do have to say that this one definitely sets you up for book number 2. Book number 2, all chaos ensues, but this one is just the intrigue, the magic system behind it. It is all so refreshing and so new, still to this day, with so many different fantasy series remotely similar to this having been brought out. It just stands the test of time, and I think that this is incredible. I really enjoyed it. Then the second book, which is most definitely the biggest one on the list. I think this one is huge. It is huge, and that is the sequel to Serpent and the Wings of Night. I don't know why I can't remember those titles, but I can't, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This book was... I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this because I did enjoy the story, I do still enjoy the characters, but I think the first one had that level of angst that I really liked. This one at times felt a bit too easy. I also felt like I couldn't connect with most of the characters the way I would want to. It is also quite big, and I'm not sure if it should be this big, but I just really loved the first one, so I can't really, you know, give this 5 stars. I gave this 3 stars. I think 3 or 4. I think it's sitting between a 3 and a 4 star anyway for me. And yeah, I wish I enjoyed it more like the first one, but alas, I do not. By the way, I don't re-rate rereads, if that makes sense, unless I truly change my mind, which I usually don't. I can still see myself reading it the first time and enjoying it, so this one is still a 5 star. Going from the biggest to the smallest of the bunch is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. This is they call it a caravel novella. In my head, this is a Donatella and Legend novella because it does include Scarlett and Julian, but not substantially. This definitely revolves around Donatella, which I do enjoy because I think Donatella out of the sisters is my favorite, and Legend is definitely superior for me to Julian, so I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. A novella is never that fleshed out that it could grip me in a 5-star kind of sense. At least I haven't found any, and I think it's a cute addition to Caraval. Was it really necessary? I don't think so. I think I gave it 4 stars because it was still enjoyable and magical, and what I just love about the Caraval series is the illustrations in them. So I did really enjoy it for what it is, and I think I gave it 4 stars because of that. If I were to rate it to some other books I've read, then that's definitely 3 stars. Moving on to another very big one. I'm not sure if this one is bigger, by the way, than the one I just showed you, but this one is huge, and it is one that I had on my TBR for a long time. So I finally finished a book that was on my TBR for a long time. I don't know why I'm so happy about that, but I finished Gemina. This is the second book in the Illuminae files, and 5 stars. It is just that good. 5 stars. I love the mixed media of these books. I have put Obsidio in my TBR cart. If I finish sort of the books that I've been meaning to read and finish, then Obsidio is definitely on the forefront of my mind. I want to finish this trilogy. I never thought I would give a sci-fi book 5 stars. So this is actually a continuation of the first book. So in the first one, we actually, I think, follow the Hypatia. So they follow a fleet in there, everything, all hell breaks loose. In this one, we actually go to Heimdall Station, and we follow 2 yeah, we go from Hypatia to Heimdall, which are actually in a invasion. So it's really, I just really liked it. So we follow Hannah, who's our main protagonist, and then yeah, all hell breaks loose. I kind of don't want to say too much about the plot of this because I don't want to spoil anything. The only thing I can say is we follow Hannah. Something I really enjoyed is because there's an invasion of this, and because of the mixed media, you get all different sort of, you know, angles of the story sort of brought to you, kind of objectively, kind of not. It's kind of subjective, but it could be objective. And you also have an entire list of who is infiltrating and sort of what happens to them. It's really cool. So yeah, I can't wait to pick up the third one. I'm excited to see how Hannah and Katie, who is the main protagonist in the first book, how they sort of, you know, come together and how all of that just grows into the next installment. But really, this book, I can really recommend it if you want to dip your toes into sci-fi. You're not a sci-fi reader like me. I know they look very intense, but they read a lot quicker than you think. I read this in 2 days, so I think if I can do it, you can do it. So far, these are all books I had on my TBR. So am I doing good? Am I doing good? Moving on, I had another book that was on my TBR that I finished, and that is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibáñez. This is a Egyptian kind of Indiana Jonesy without sort of the adventure. Well, with the adventure, but without the puzzling of it. So in this one we follow, I'm so bad with remembering, Inez. And Inez actually goes to Egypt after she gets the message that her parents are killed, and her uncle immediately wants to send her away. And then sort of everything spirals. In this, they are looking for treasure, but it's definitely not the main focus. This is more of an adventure kind of story than a puzzling kind of story, which is definitely where it, for me, felt a little bit flat. I think I gave this 4 stars or 3 or 4. It's sitting in between that mark due to the fact that I would have liked a lot more of the exploring and Indiana Jones Tomb Raider-y kind of treasure hunts in Egypt. This is definitely more along that vein, I think it also says it, of The Mummy, where the finding of, yeah, the mummy meets death in the Nile. I'm not sure if I agree with the death in the Nile part, mostly because there's only a tiny little bit on the Nile and not that much in the famous sites. There's not a sort of murdery plot. So I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I definitely agree with this is inspired by a mummy kind, The Mummy, the movie, the original, because in there it's the adventure is more important than the finding the artifacts and that stuff. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the ending of this mostly. I love the twists. This is a book that has a lot of twists, which I do enjoy because some books don't have enough of them and they become predictable. This was very unpredictable, but some of them were a bit far-fetched, if you want to listen to me. At least I thought so. So along that same vein, I also finished the sequel this month because that was how excited I was for that first book. I did really enjoy it and, you know, the finish, the ending. The second book was definitely less than the first book for me. I think I gave this 3 stars. Same thing with the first book. I have the same criticism, and maybe that's my part because it does say The Mummy. But for me, the adventuring is just the most important part of the book. And the plots in here, there's one plot twist in here that I think is incredibly far-fetched and makes no sense, at least to me. I won't talk about it because I don't want to spoil you. I did see it kind of from a mile away, but was thinking, that is not possible, yet it was. I will not divulge. If you have read this book, send me a message because I think you'll probably know what I mean. They're good, but they're not the best. I think it's a fun duology to have. It is definitely different from what I usually read. It is fantasy, but I love sort of looking around trying to find artifacts kind of thing in Egypt or wherever, just excavating. But that was actually my final book of the month, so that was my 6th and final book. So these two. That said, that does mean that there is one that was on my TBR that I have not read, which is Dancers of the Dawn, but I have started it and I am about 60 pages into it. So I'm definitely gonna continue and finish this in the month of February, but I have not read it just yet. So you'll probably hear me talking about this in the next wrap up, considering I'm 60 pages in already and I'm reading it currently. So that said, let me quickly grab you the stack of books I have and show you all the ones I read. I had to rearrange them slightly, but we have, oh, I have these, okay, it's fine. What the River Knows, Where the Library Hides, Gemina Spectacular, The Ashes, and the Star-Cursed King, and then I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I think quite a decent pile, all fantasy, well, one sci-fi, all non-romance books. Romance is a part of it. I'm going nowhere with this statement, but I did enjoy the stack, and I think I did good in the month of January. Let's hope February is just as good. That said, this is everything for the first wrap up of the year. I know at some point I did statistics of how I did in the month. I'm not sure if I am going to do that, but if that is something that you would love to see from me, I can definitely see if I can incorporate some parts of it if you're missing something in this wrap up. In any case, I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so you can post notifications every single time that we post. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!